Hi there and welcome to Lorena's Labyrinth. My name's Anna Pirelli. The comments that you see here are my views, beliefs, opinions, and sometimes they are not even my fully formed views, beliefs, and opinions. However, they are my understandings. Please do retain an open mind and reflect on any of the content and your comfort levels. If your views differ, please feel free to leave a comment. Also remember, it is possible to disagree in respectful ways. My way is not necessarily your way and vice versa. You might also find that some of the content on this playlist in regard to spiritual or universal laws, it resonates with you, meaning it feels right to you, while other laws may not feel right or they may not feel comfortable. If this is the case, the information is either not right for you or it is not right for you right now, and it might never be right for you at any given time. It really doesn't matter. As an earthy and practical person, I can put my hand up with all honesty and say that I have at different times had the same feelings about some of the content in here. And with some of them, I still have a level of skepticism within my viewpoints, but I choose to retain an open mind about the things that I don't fully understand for a few reasons. Firstly, because I believe it would be supreme arrogance to think that we all know all of the answers while we have a body. And because what is right for one of us is not necessarily right or suitable for all of us, and I choose to respect the differences. Please do leave your opinions, beliefs. Feel free to argue the points in a respectful way with any of the content on the slides and even my interpretations. And if you feel that you can add clarity around some of the content, we would all love to see it. Thank you. For now, though, let's explore the laws.
All creation is governed by law. The principles that operate in the outer universe, discoverable by scientists, are called natural laws. But there are subtler laws that rule the hidden spiritual planes and the inner realm of consciousness. Contained within these laws, or conditions, is the true nature of matter. Knowledge of these laws has an effect upon the mental urges. Mind is the builder. Stay in full mindfulness of the application of universal law as related to self and to others, and know that in love all life is given, in love all things move. In giving one attains, in giving one acquires. In giving, love becomes the fulfillment of desire, guided and directed in the ways that bring the more perfect knowledge of self as related to the universal, all-powerful, all-guiding, all divine influence in life. Love is life. When we go back, merge with the God source, in some infinitesimal but profound way, we expand the mind of God. Our higher self always points the best and most perfect way, and it is ours to listen and choose or reject what we hear. It does not blame, but patiently tries again to show the perfect way, the loving way. All of creation pushes forth. We are ever becoming. Identity ever remains. Universal Law 100. The Law of Unconditional Love. This is a condition as well as a law of third dimension living. Loving ourselves and other people as they are is honoring self and another self and soul path. It is loving without judgment or reservation, and awareness we are all part of God or the All. When we love without condition or restraint, we connect in a profound manner with our own higher self. We notice that we say the right things at the right time in our communication with others while loving unconditionally. Life and events seem to flow to us in a more joyous and agreeable manner. Everything seems easy when living in unconditional love.
The Law of Unconditional Love, I held off to recording this one for a little while because it's something that's given me a little bit of conflict as far as talking about it and what my position is on it, okay? Because it looks very simple from an initial viewpoint, this business of loving everybody without judgment, and honouring the self, honouring others without reservation within this awareness that we're all part of God. To me, it just sounds so logical, so rational. It resonates with the core of my being. It has done for 20 odd years that, it's unconditional love is something that we should all aspire for or towards. But I do remember many years ago that I had reached a point where I was feeling betrayed and let down by everybody actually around me. I'd been through a lot of unrest, shall we say, and I thought, but I love them. Why are they so conditional to me? There is this expectation that I would do or be a certain way, which I felt was unreasonable. Anyway, so to break it down, I don't disagree with what they say here, that loving ourselves and others is part of honouring ourselves and our soul path, and this business of the whole definition of awareness of God, loving without judgment or restraint, and extending it to others. Okay, some years ago, I guess, when I first started out on my journey, I realised that, there is truth to that saying that before we can really truly love others, we have to be able to love ourselves, and that's like filling the cup up with water. And I say love ourselves, but that doesn't mean in the egotistical way of looking in the mirror saying, God, I'm so beautiful. That's not what it's about. It's about, from where I sit, this is my interpretation, I welcome your thoughts as well. It's about having self-respect. It's about knowing your limits, valuing your gifts, all of these kind of positive attributes that we would encourage other people to do, to appreciate who and what you are. And when we love ourselves, we do understand that there are limits on what we can do as far as our time goes and our responsibilities, especially while we're in earth, in the body, and that there are limits with how much energy we can provide to other people as part of that self-care and self-love for ourselves. So it can be difficult. But then the other thing is too that when we talk about the word love, we're talking about an emotional state that is defined differently from person to person, is where I'm going. So, as we interact with other people, we might think that we're being unconditionally loving and supportive toward them, but because they've got a different definition of what love is and looks like, then they don't see our love, if that makes sense. We think we're being loving, and we are being loving by our standards, but it's not perceived as love by those around us. And this is where I start to have this little bit of discomfort or whatever with the definition of this law, and I think it's because they have applied their belief, the original author, that everything looks easier and all of that kind of stuff. I wouldn't agree with that, because in my experience, as I said, when we are loving ourselves and we know our limitations, then we know how to put healthy boundaries in place for self-care to make sure that we remain well enough to continue to give love to other people as well. And sometimes that means that we've got to put limits and restrictions on other people's behaviour, especially because everybody, and we know this and the law recognises this, everybody is growing at their own rate, and we're all flawed people, you know what I mean? Humans, the very nature of being a human is that we are imperfect by, this standard measure that everybody holds up. We're perfect in the divine image, and we're perfectly placed where we are. But are we perfect as opposed to other people's expectations? Not really. I don't think I've ever met anybody that I would define as the perfect human being, if you know what I mean. And the reason I would say, that it hasn't always worked for me and made life easier is because many years ago I created a group, and because I'd come some level on my journey, and most people actually will know what the group is. It's called Real Psychics and Mediums, and it was just a volunteer charity organisation that I organised because I felt people that didn't have money should be able to access words of hope and joy and, inspiration from psychics and mediums or whatever. So that was the underpinning ideology of creating the group. But where it became problematic is that people would approach me and say that they wanted to be able to use the group as a space to offer services themselves. And that was fine. As long as they had credibility, they could actually do what it was that they were talking about. And I realised I needed to put parameters on the group to keep people safe. And by that I mean vulnerable people, safe from exploitation or safe from harmful messages by people who were actually deluded. So I put boundaries on the group. I was very public with it. And every now and again, if something happened in a person's life, they might become mentally or psychologically unstable. And because I was the group owner, I felt it was a responsibility to pull people into check. And I still maintain it was, by the way. This was before I started social work as a degree, I might add. And anyway, my values, what I had put into the group as group rules, they were actually professional standards, which I hadn't been aware of, and they were underpinned by this concept of love, but also of responsibility. And what would happen is when people were doing harmful practice or there was a risk and they breached the rules, as I said, I'd have to pull them up. And invariably what would happen is they would become so aggressive towards me and so toxic and sometimes so abusive. It was not unusual for me to cop these vile messages through social media. And because of this business of, forgiving, unconditional love and that kind of stuff, my attitude was that if I had integrity, I would respect the fact this person was having a meltdown and that they would then contact me afterwards with an apology. I could have used or asserted, this was my thinking at the time, I could have simply blocked the messages and stopped them contacting me, but I felt that was pretty harsh to do to somebody who was clearly unstable at the time. So I didn't actually block the people. I would just not respond to their revolting messages that would come through. Now, this is why I say that it's not always easy. In fact, sometimes it's really, really difficult because these people, when they feel violated, it's not uncommon for them to actually go away and malign you professionally or personally to anybody that falls across their path because they want to have that support. They are unstable and they need that acknowledgement that they're okay, they're all right, they're fine. It's not them, it's the other person. Now, if we were talking about mental illness, we'd actually say there's a personality disorder going on there of what is called splitting or even narcissism. I think they're tendencies of a narcissist, where they feel that they are above any form of blame. It's everybody else's fault. But anyway, so going back to this, it was, I wouldn't say it made life easier. I would say that it was actually really quite awful. And then the other thing is too, that if you do attempt to retain your silence when you're interacting with these people who are being so toxic and abusive, and certainly after a while you can tell if you're really comfortable with yourself and you're aware of yourself and somebody accuses you of something, you can look at them and you think, that old what a person says, that's what they are. If they accuse you of something, you become aware that what they're doing is projecting their stuff upon you. Now, sometimes if they were unwell, they might actually hit on what I perceive to be one of my flaws, in which case I would genuinely apologise to them for it, okay? Because I don't think that I don't have any faults. I know my faults, know them very well. I'm quite in touch, as you are. But if they are accusing me of something that I know that I haven't done or that is not part of my character trait, the difficulty there is from a mental health perspective. We know that unless you actually agree with the person when they're in crisis, they'll continue to escalate. So quite often, my way around that was simply to acknowledge their allegation or accusation and just respond with, I'm sorry that you feel like that. But some of them are pretty switched on and they know that actually you're not apologising for what they perceive to be your flaws. You're just sorry that they're really upset, which is quite true actually. Anyway, where I'm going with that is unless you actually apologise in the way that they would like you to, then you're subject to a whole series of further allegations and accusations that you think you're without a fault, you're a narcissist yourself because you don't think you make any mistakes. But I can honestly say that as part of my self-love, when I'm addressing people that will behave like that, it's like, you can call me that, you can say that to me, but I am not going to say to you, no, I do have faults and here they are, because you know that with these sort of people, if you tell them your vulnerabilities, they will actually use them against you. So that is self-love as well. So does life become easier under the law of unconditional love? I don't know that it becomes easier, that you all of a sudden, because you feel that you're giving unconditional love or you have this capacity to forgive people, I don't know that I would say everything seems easy. I think I would probably say it becomes far easier to forgive and to heal and to move on from unloving behavior. But I think that might just be me. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. And I think from my perspective as well, so here the thing, I'm going on thoughts here. I kind of think actually it's probably easier to forgive others for failing to meet our expectations than it is ourselves. I mean, that's something I'd love to hear from you guys. How do you define unconditional love? That'd be the first thing. How do you sustain it toward yourself? And then how does that work for you in your interpersonal relationships, with the people around you? That would be really interesting to know as well. But anyway, I'm going to love you right now and leave you and catch you on the next video. Thanks for being part of my journey. Have a good day. Bye-bye for now.